My name's Suzanne here at StoneMagpie. Thank you for joining me today. We're going to be doing a WIP and Chat whilst I work on a diamond painting by Diamond Art Studio. The diamond painting is The Fairy House and it was painted by Moonshaped Monday. I'm absolutely thrilled to say that Ilona, who painted the original artwork for this diamond painting, is joining us for the WIP and Chat today. I'm so excited and I hope that you enjoy it too, hearing about how she produced the artwork and how she works, etc. So please do get your own diamond paintings out and let's work on them together during the video. I hope you enjoy it. Please do consider liking, sharing and subscribing. It's always appreciated and I really do enjoy hearing your comments too. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, and you, and welcome to StoneMagpie. I'm so thrilled that you're doing this for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I love working with the diamond painting or the diamond painting people, so it's nice to get involved in the whole process. And it's been so lovely to start work with them. So yeah, I'd like to meet some of the other people in the diamond painting industry.
I've got absolutely loads of things to ask you, but I'll try not to bombard you. I just want to know it all. So I wanted to sort of ask you questions about your art and how you got started and the way and your process in producing the pictures in the first place, and then perhaps how that then evolved into the diamond painting and how that happened. So if you want to start just talking about your art and how that all evolved.
Let's begin at the beginning. I've always been drawing as a kid and as a teenager. I know that a lot of people stop when they're teenagers, but I kept drawing and I was still drawing when I was in uni. And then I got my first illustration jobs, which was portraits mostly. And then I started to do some kids' books, and then I started traveling, and I really fell in love with traveling. And while traveling, I found an online platform where you could find illustration jobs. And I was just amazed by the fact that I could work while traveling and make money with art. Oh, that's amazing. I want to do more of this. So I met some customers through different platforms. I met some customers in real life. So I started to build up my career as an illustrator. Learned some new skills. I taught myself how to use a drawing tablet. Started working with a lot of different techniques. And yeah, it kind of kept going. So this is, it all kind of started 10 years ago when I really tried to make it my profession. So and here we are now.
Well done, because it's not easy, is it, to make money out of making art?
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it to a lot of people. Honestly, if I would have seen my own portfolio as a 15-year-old, I had a kind of secret desire to become an artist. If 30-year-old me would see my 15-year-old Ilona's portfolio, I would be like, girl, stay in school.
Right.
Get education, which I did. I always have my degree to fall back on if something happens in the art industry but yeah, so far I'm still loving it. Still developing, still growing. But I feel like it's going better every year. I get more clients, I get more interesting jobs. It's been really growing on me as well. So that's been good.
So starting out in portraiture, was that in the style, because you've got such a distinctive style, I think you could recognise it quite easily. So was your portraiture similar, or was it very lifelike and pencil?
Absolutely not. Yeah, I started with pencil portraits. I did some charcoal portraits. I don't use pencil and charcoal anymore, only for sketches. I still do portraits now, but they're a bit closer to the style that I use within Moonshaped Monday. So they're line art illustrations that I color in watercolor. I prefer to work in color anyways. So, but yeah, my first portraits look totally different. They're very generic pencil portraits, actually.
Right.
Yeah. I still do the art portraits, but it's because I can. But I prefer to work on concept art, on things that I can use my imagination with.
Yeah.
like with the fairy house and with the tarot cards.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that is the background I've got behind me. For anybody that doesn't know, this is a Moonshaped Monday design in a diamond painting, and it's the fairy house from Diamond Art Studio. Just so that people are aware, it is available. I think it's sold out currently, but keep checking because it's always going to be restocked, isn't it? So, yeah.
Yeah, I know they're working on their restock right now.
Right, okay. Need to keep getting it in. It sells out so quickly. And I was so thrilled to get my hands on it quite early on. So I'm still working on mine. I've not finished mine yet. So I'm really enjoying it. So you mentioned watercolour. So that's the medium you tend to use for your tarot cards, is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, most of my art. Well, I would say I do about half my artwork in watercolor and the other half is digital.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah.
because I was thinking, it seemed to me by my amateur eye that you would start with a design in the centre and then expand out, perhaps in pencil, and then do your line work over the top. Am I right, or am I completely wrong?
I with the fairy house, I don't even know where I started. So this was actually a custom job that I did for Diamond Art Studio. They requested me to make a custom illustration of a fairy house, inspired on an illustration they already had. They were already working with. So I got instructions to use a lot of colors because that is really fun for diamond painting. And other than that, I just kind of used my imagination. So I knew I wanted to have something that sort of resembled a mushroom, but I wanted to have some human, like more actual building elements in there as well, like with the wall and the windows. I was like making big insects in drawings, so I had to go with the bumblebees and the butterfly.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you where I started on this illustration.
Right.
This is kind of, I made a very rough sketch of just a fairy house, a house in the middle, and all the other elements just kind of came naturally. And I just looked at the colors that I needed to use. I wanted to use a flower in every different color. Hence the lily of the valleys are a bit more purple than it should be. And the forget-me-nots. It's, I can't even
They're
tell
the
you how I
bellflowers, aren't
started.
they? So they're the lily of the valley. I was thinking it was like bluebell-like, or you can actually get in the UK a bellflower that is purple. So,
I'm not even sure which reference photo I used for that, but they were definitely not that purple. But I just want to add more purple. I want to at least have harmony. That's always very important in my art, that there's harmony with the colors.
yeah.
So there's no clashing of colors and the right elements pop out. That's always very important in all of my artwork, in the tarot cards as well.
Yeah, because the daisies are very white, so if you'd kept the lily of the valley white, then they may have well blended too much
that
together.
would
So.
not look right. And
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure that I included the whole rainbow. I usually don't do that with my tarot cards and my other projects. I try to leave out at least one color, so it's a bit more. There's a bit more harmony. But with this one, I said no. We're going to do the entire rainbow. We're going to do all the colors.
And it's so whimsical. I mean, every part of it, I'm looking at the painting, it's on my table, that's why I keep looking down. But it's quite whimsical, isn't it? Even with the sky, which I didn't notice in my unboxing, that it's actually the smoke from the chimney creates that...
But it is such an amazing job on charting the sky. Yeah, because in the original, it's just watercolor. It's kind of fading into light and dark. And Giles from Diamond Paint Art Studio, he did such an amazing job on kind of using their own style into my illustration. Mm-hmm. And they always ask for permission. They always check with me like, hey, do you agree on our interpretation? Yes, I love it. I love it.
Oh, that's really nice to know. Yeah, so they take taking your opinions in as the artist. That's really lovely.
Doesn't always go well with collaborations, I do admit that. When another person has to do something with my art before it can be printed, or even tattoos, it can turn bad easily.
So people do tattoos?
Two of my designs have been tattooed. One was actually tarot cards, which was done really well by the artist. Another tattoo was... the artist had a different idea.
Right.
So I'm always really careful. I always prefer to work as close with the customer as possible until there's a final product. For example, with the kids' books, I always make the entire book. I don't just deliver the artwork, I deliver a PDF with the final art included with the text, unless I already know the writer and I know their editor.
Right. And I didn't actually realise that you did book illustrations. In my research, I've not seen any of those. So are they...
A lot of illustrations, yeah.
Right. Oh, I'll have to find out more about that and feed back to the viewers if they want to look at those.
I kind of work under 3 different brands. So with Diamond Art Studio, I mostly work with under Moonshaped Monday, which is my whimsical brand, I just call it that. It includes my tarot cards, and I also do some zodiac art and bird charts, and the fairy houses are also included in that. And then I have my main brand, which is mostly for kids' books and portraits and logos. And my current focus is actually on my motorcycle brands. So that includes posters and t-shirt designs. Currently working on some Harley Davidson stickering. Recently made a poster for a motor club. That's a completely separate brand, but I really enjoy working with the biker people as well.
And that's all commissioned?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I make the illustration for myself, but yeah, most of it is commission-based, yeah.
Yes.
Know a lot of people in the industry, and it's also a very pleasant industry to work with.
And you've got your own website and also an Etsy shop, so if people want to buy your prints and things, anywhere else that they could get those from?
It's always best to contact me through Facebook or Instagram. That's really the easiest way to get in touch if you want to buy any of my existing art, or well, most of my art is not for sale because it's for customers. I do sell prints of the fairy house. But I mostly focus on commission, so if people would want to get commissioned illustration, it's the best to contact me over social media. My website is a bit, I need to update it.
Right.
I haven't touched my website in a while because I get most of my interactions over social media anyway, so let's make sure my social media is up to date.
Yeah.
That's really the best way to contact me, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's good to know, definitely. Now, I needed to ask you about the rope design around the edge. Because I really like that because it sort of frames the whole picture, and I wondered whether you do that on every picture or is it just then the whimsical range?
It all started with the tarot cards. I don't even really know why I did it. I guess I wanted to have my tarot cards have a bit of a border, and since all the illustrations for my tarot deck are really different, some have people, some have animals, some only have plants or landscapes. I wanted to make sure that there was some consistency, I suppose. So I started to draw the border around them. And sometimes I kind of regret it because it's a lot of extra work. Every tarot card, it always takes a lot of time to make them. And the border again. And then, when I started to work with Diamond Art Studio and I made the custom fairy house design, they actually requested to make the border again because they enjoyed having that in their designs. I don't really use it for other designs. It really depends what my customers want. If someone makes a kids book and they want a border, we can do a border. But with kids books, I usually like to have the illustration either fade into the background or to be cut off by the page. So there's no need for a border. And with teacher designs for the motorcycle industry, there's also no need for a border. They actually prefer to have like circular designs with some text around it. So it's the border is really a Moonshaped Monday thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used it in my birth chart as well, but then it's circular.
Right. You see, now the birth charts then, are they available as diamond paintings yet, or are they...
No, and I don't think that would be possible because birth charts are very personal. So a birth chart
is it an individual rather than a circular?
Yes, it's not just
right.
A horoscope. It's a very deep horoscope. It includes your sun sign, but also your moon sign and your rising, and it includes all the. It's basically a summary of what the sky looked like on the moment and the location even when a person was born or when a certain event happened. So each birth chart is unique. So I mean, technically we can make a diamond painting out of a birth chart, but it would only be one person's birth chart, which would be a bit strange. Yeah.
So
you have to do the naked design.
So you're given somebody's details of where they were born, the time they were born. I'm quite into all of the zodiac things. And then you research their birth chart and paint where all of the different signs are in their chart. Is that how that works?
I have a hand-drawn design, but I put it in a Photoshop document so that I can edit it. So I have little icons for all the planets. So what I do, I take the information from the customer and I put it in an online bird charts calculator. So then I basically get a circle with all the locations of the planets, and I paste that in my Photoshop documents, and then I kind of start moving the planets around. So the planets are all corresponding with the digital bird charts. So it looks like it's hand-drawn, which it technically is, but I put the elements together digitally.
Yeah. I did a zodiac series on my channel. It was every sign. Every month I did that birth sign and talked about the personality traits and things and what gifts would be good for them and all sorts of things. It was quite hard work, so I can imagine it must be quite difficult doing somebody's
Yeah. I don't know too much about bird charts and about the zodiac signs. I know what I have to know in order to make a good bird chart. But if your moon is in Sagittarius, I cannot tell you exactly what that means. I'm the illustrator. I am not a bird chart reader. I'm not a tarot reader. I just make the art.
Yeah. But are you planning to bring out a complete tarot deck then with all of your...
Yes.
Oh, yes. Oh, how long will that take?
I've been working on this for 3 years, almost 4 years. It's been a really long process because it's kind of my pet project since it's not for clients. Well, I mean, now it's also for the Diamond or Sphere, but like for the last years, it's kind of been my pet project. Like when it's quiet with commissions or when I just need, when I'm working on something difficult or complicated and I just want to do something nice and easy on my brain, I make tarot cards. So I am pretty close to completing the deck. I think I'm working on one card right now. And I think after this one, I think I need 14 more. And then I can start the publication process.
Still quite a lot.
14 sounds like a lot, but it's
72. Oh, 78 is it? I thought it was 72.
Yes. Yeah. And then I have to think about the design for the box and the back of the cards. And yeah, so there's still a long way, but yeah, I can't give you a date yet when it's going to happen because now I'm really busy with my motorcycle brand, which I always have to prioritize customer commissions over the tarot cards.
Yeah, of course. Because
yeah.
Okay,
so
I'll let you
on. So much.
Because there was a lot more, because I obviously have been looking, and there was a lot more tarot cards that I saw on the images actually than I realised that you'd already made. So I had requested Justice, because I'm a Libra, and that's my card. So is Justice painted yet or not? Oh!
Let me think. I can check in my files. Justice, because there's a few that look like there's a few cards that are quite similar. No, I think I made Justice really early in the process. Yes, I think I have a version of Justice, but I think I'm gonna redo it.
Oh.
It's not I don't think it's on my website right now. If it's the card that I'm thinking of, because sometimes I have an illustration in mind and it's not the card I'm thinking of. But yeah, no, I think I've made it, but I'm going to redo it. I'm going to make it fit better with the current illustrations.
Right, okay.
Because I've been working on this for so long that some illustrations don't seem relevant anymore. So, but it's one of the few cards I'm still going to redo. And after that, it's just, no, it is what it is. And I'm going to polish. It's actually included in the 14 cards that I still have to do.
Right, okay. Because I was going to say, if you were way off, that you could even bring out a deck of just the major and then bring out the full deck afterwards.
Yeah, but I still have to do a lot of major arcana cards. I still have to do the tempo, I think, and yeah. So
I'm just going to have to be more patient.
Deck at this point. Yeah, I could have done that. If I realized early in the process how long this is going to take, because each card takes me, it really depends. If there are just some plants and because there are cards that have no animals or people in them at all, those I can complete quite fast. Relatively from start to finish, or from the design, the moment I think of making the cards and I start doing research, sketches, the line art, the coloring. Fastest cards take 4 hours, I would say, but some cards take 6 hours. If there's people involved that I have to get the right reference photos of, because I also want to make sure that the people look somewhat realistic. yeah, it can take pretty long. The coloring is a lot of work.
Yeah, because sometimes in tarot the colours are part of the interpretation of the meaning, aren't they, in things? So
I tend to ignore that because there's a lot of things connected to tarot cards. There's, as you said, the zodiac signs that are connected to certain cards. There are the elements that are connected to cards, and some people really aim on involving all of that in the cards. But I don't want to restrict myself too much with it, so I take my inspiration from the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and I do take a lot of their symbolism. Especially with the major arcana, they have a lot of symbolism. The minor arcana are a little bit more like little comics, almost like little images of a comic that just tell the short story. So I use a lot more liberty there, but I don't want to restrict myself much more. So I do take out a lot of symbolism that I find dated, or symbolism that I find that is talked about in the original deck, but isn't really talked about in the current time anymore. So I do kind of give it my own interpretation, but I do leave out some things, so I can still get creative.
And so how does it work with the Diamond Art Studio commission for your tarot? Because I think we've had Chariot, Eight of Swords, and the Tower.
And the Tower, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it something that they approach you about if there's
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I don't really know how they found me. I don't recall how, but they sent me a message either over Instagram or an email. I don't really remember. But they asked me if I wanted to collaborate with them on the diamond paintings, and that they wanted to use my artwork, create a diamond painting, and pay all their artists based on sales. So that's was a really nice deal, and I was interested. I looked at their website. It seemed very serious, because I sometimes get approached by companies or people that I'm like, no, I'm not just going to send you the files for my artwork. Get a lot of emails of people that want to publish my tarot deck. I'm like, I'm not sending you the full files of my cards. No, they seem very reliable. Their business seemed very serious. They're very polite. So I was like, well, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. So I sent them the files for 2 tarot cards. We started with the Eight of Swords and the Tower. And they told me they were going to charge the cards. It took a bit because they charged all of them by hands. Well, at least with my cards, because it's a bit complicated with the line art. And then they showed me what they made, and I looked at it and I was like, wow, this looks really good. Like, yeah, you have my blessing. Go ahead and print them. So, and it's all been really good. Communication has been good, and I'm really happy with what they did with my arts.
Yeah, it's such an open company that they're always informing the customers of what's happening, and the honesty behind it, I've been really impressed with, actually. So yeah, I
really like that, because there's obviously a lot of tarot or diamond paintings out there even on AliExpress and where people can buy products. But I love that they involve the community, they involve the artist. I love how they really made it like one big happy group of people that are working on arts. I really like that about the company.
Yeah,
definitely.
And had you already heard of diamond painting at that point, or was it a new craft to you?
For me, it was new because I already make so many drawings that it never occurred to me that I like to have other hobbies besides drawing, but I don't need them to be artistic.
Oh.
So I like my yoga, I like my exercises, and I like my motorcycles, but I like to just do art as a profession. So it never really came up for me as a hobby. It does remind me of something they had. This was more a thing of the 90s, I think. It's called mini stack, where you have kind of like a plastic plate where you kind of click in these little plastic squares.
Right.
So the result is kind of like a diamond painting, but flat. So I was familiar with the concept. I must have seen it somewhere at some point, but I had no idea how big it was. There is such a big community behind it, with YouTube channels and people doing reviews. It's been really lovely.
Yeah. And I think it's growing at all the time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, definitely, yeah. And how many different people work on diamond paintings? Because once I had my tarot cards published as diamond paintings, I heard more people, oh yeah, I've made a diamond painting. Oh, I know this and this person that does diamond painting. There's not so many people that do it, but most people do it at home, so you don't really see it a lot.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I started on the tower. I started on it probably like a year ago, or like once I got the painting, I started, and I've done about a quarter.
Right.
It's so much work. It is. Whoa! It takes so many hours. But sometimes I just like to. I have it here in my office actually. I just like to put it on my desk and like maybe I'll do a little bit tonight actually. You inspired me. And I just sit down for maybe half an hour. I get the little diamonds out and I just go like put something on a podcast, and I just kind of turn my brain off if I'm like working like now. I'm working on a lot of different projects at the same time, and it gets a bit fussy. So it's yeah, I really enjoy it. I do have to tell myself like, okay, now we stop diamond painting. Now we're actually gonna make a drawing, a new drawing again. I can see that it's really addictive.
It is, and I find it, for me, I used to do quite a bit of art, you know, when you're growing up and when you're younger, and I suddenly got into an age where I was so worried about messing it up or making a mistake, and whereas with diamond painting, you've done all of the hard work. So for us, it's easy because, you know, if we go wrong, we just pick it off, or if we want to change it a little bit, we can play with it. Just to make it more personal to ourselves. But I think that's the relaxing part of it, is there's no worry about, you know, going too far or putting too much on the painting, and then you've ruined it and you've put all that work into it. So, yeah.
I do like that some people get creative by switching out certain colors with like shinier or like holographic diamonds almost. So I like that there's still like that personal touch to it if you want.
Yeah, I'm doing one at the moment actually where I'm making a crystal ball with the crystal diamonds. So the whole thing's going to be crystal. Yeah, that's taken a little bit of thought. But apart from that, it's usually no thought involved, just the actual
it's
doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, I've had moments that I was, because in the tower, there's a couple of blues that look very similar, that I was like, just kind of like absentmindedly like facing them, like, wait, is this the right color? Okay, sure.
I'll just leave it. I won't pick them all off.
Yeah, it's going to be fine. No, I just really love the idea that, especially with the tarot cards, they're so massive. Like, I've been working on it for months, and I'm not even halfway down. I started on the top, and I have just this tiny little bit that I did. And I just love the idea that there are so many people, Granny, that have been working on my drawing for way longer than I've worked on it, because the tower was actually one of my more detailed designs. It probably took me 6-7 hours to make. But there's people that worked way more hours on that just to redo my design, and that's just such a lovely idea. That's such an honor for my work, really.
Oh, that's nice that you think that way. And were you surprised how big the diamond paintings were when you first saw your art made into those?
Yeah, I was quite shocked. I mean, I knew the size that they were going to have it printed on, and I knew roughly how big those diamonds were. But yeah, I received it. I was like, wow, this is really big. I was like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna start on it. I'm gonna do some diamond painting. And I think I kind of lost myself. I just kind of blacked out. And I think I must have been like, the first session was probably like 4 hours of straight diamond painting. And at some point I kind of like came back and I looked at my work and I was like, I only did this little corner. Yeah, I don't think I'm really good at it, to be honest.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you're fine. Have you ever...
I was kind of going diamond by diamond. Yeah.
Have you ever had one of your designs made into a cross stitch? You know, where you count the cross for the stitching? No. Oh,
I have
okay.
no experience with anything similar. I'd be open to it if someone would approach me for it. I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
Because I think it would translate really well, and then it could be a smaller design because obviously the stitches are smaller. But I think stitching, I've tried it again for the first time in years, and it's even more time consuming than diamond painting.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah. If someone would want to turn one of my tarot cards into cross stitching, I'd love to see that. I really love to see what my art looks like as cross stitches. That would be really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm always open for those kind of creative collaborations, definitely. As long as there's clear communication. Yeah, definitely.
And so your prints that are available for, say, the Fairy House, are they true to the original size that you painted them?
They're closer to the diamond painting than to the original. The original is something like that.
Okay, just slightly smaller than A4 size.
It's a bit smaller than A4. Yeah.
Right. Oh, very good.
It's on A4 paper, but there's a bit of a border around it. Yeah.
Because I was thinking, for us diamond painters, once we finish the diamond painting, we could actually frame it with the print next to it, if it was the original size, just to show it hung on the wall as the original.
Well, I mean, I can get it printed larger.
Mm.
Yeah, I have the digital file. I can actually print it in any size, but I think it's on my Etsy in A3 size. But it could be A2, which is closer to the diamond painting.
No, I mean, for the original size of the artwork, to show the difference, if the print was the same size as the original, and then the diamond painting next to it to show the difference in size from, does that make sense?
I think it could be arranged. I think I can actually match it if I know the exact. I can actually make a print that is the same size as the diamond painting. That could be arranged, I think. Yeah, if people are interested in it, to have my art, but two of them next to each other. Hit me up. I can definitely make that happen if that's something that people want, if they can't get enough of the fairy house. Actually, I have some exciting news regarding the fairy house. So probably tonight I'm going to start sketching on a new fairy house.
Oh.
So I can't tell you too much yet, but yeah.
You can tell me a little bit. I'll prize a little bit out.
I don't know how much I want to tell you. Well, it's definitely going to be in my Instagram and in my Instagram story while I'm working on it. Over on Moonshaped Monday. So I will be posting a few little updates, hopefully soon. But I'm going to make some sketches. It's going to be similar to the fairy house, but it's going to have some different types of animals and some different type of wildlife around it.
Oh, that sounds lovely. Because I noticed on your Instagram you were doing, what do you call it, where you speed it up when you were painting.
Yes, the time lapses.
Time lapse, that's it. And you were saying you tried to do it with the lines, but because you turned the card all the time, it didn't quite work out.
Yes, even with the coloring, I find it hard to not touch the canvas because sometimes when I'm coloring, especially with larger batches, you can either adjust your hands to match to have the brush stroke match with your canvas, but I prefer to just spin my canvas around. So yeah, with the line art, I find it a little bit tedious to film everything, but because I'm often still like sketching and kind of going back and forth between pen and pencil, but with the coloring, it's okay. I just put my camera above my canvas and I color everything, and then I speed the videos up. Yeah, I think it looks fun. Actually, yeah, the fairy house got a lot of views on Instagram for some reason. So yeah, I enjoy doing it. There's no secrets about my art process. Everyone can know what I'm using and how I make my art. There's no secrets to it.
Because when I've seen those time lapses, the brush itself looks quite. It looks thin and quite solid. I don't know, because originally I thought, oh, is that like a pen? Because I don't know why.
Yeah, this is the size I usually use. Yeah, I use quite small
Oh,
brushes.
right, yes.
Yeah.
Tiny.
Well, because, the drawing is quite small. It's smaller than A4, and I do a lot of detailing even within the color patches. So I use, like for example, like behind you on the flower petals, there's a lot of shading within the different colors.
Yeah. I love that. One of my favourite parts of the fairy house is right at the bottom with the ivy leaves, because you've done so many colours in that bottom of the ivy, and that's the first thing that my eye went to when I opened the diamond painting.
That's interesting. I think that's actually the last thing I drew.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my focus was more on the fairy house, and then I don't know where I started on the fairy house. I just made the house, and then the other things kind of came natural based on which colors I needed, and I figured I need some more green in the bottom.
Yeah.
Hence the ivy.
But like the sunflowers, they all have, I think there's about 3, maybe even 4 colours. It'll probably be more when I start diamond painting the sunflowers. I'll probably be like, oh no, there's 15.
I don't even know how many colours there are in that. No, because I work with ingredients, so So yeah, there's the yellow is I just use one type of yellow for that, but I make it darker and lighter. Sometimes I just start out with yellow all in the same thickness, and I start adding on to where the shading needs to be, so it gets a bit more, gets a little bit darker. And when I need highlights, I actually make the canvas a little bit wet, and then I dip paper on it, so it takes away some of the color. So a lot of the highlights, like especially on the flowers, they're done with adding some water later on.
Because I was going to ask whether you actually painted your watercolours quite wet with the blending so that they bled the colours into each other, or do you wait for the paint to dry and then go over with the darker colour?
I use Ecolina, so it's a liquid acrylic, so it's quite different than the standard acrylic. So they're liquid. They're pretty much liquid like water. They're really thin, but they're very really good pigments. I like to use them because I can go straight over my line art without covering up my line arts. And yeah, I first started using it on my second or third kids book, and it just became my medium. I just love working with it. It just feels natural to me. It makes sense to me. The way you can mix colors, either on the palette or on the canvas. The way how you can create shading. Sometimes I create really strong shadings with black over the color. Sometimes I just create more shading by adding more of the color over the color. I just love working with it. It's such great material. It's quite hard to find. It's a Dutch brand I work with. I've struggled finding it while traveling sometimes. But it kind of comes natural for me. It just is the right material for me to use.
Because there's quite a big colouring community as well out there, isn't there? Where a lot of people use markers, like the watercolour markers and things like that. So yeah, my brand of watercolors also sells it's talents. So their markers are quite popular. I know them. I have the markers, but they're not for me. Right.
I tried them. I can understand why people like them for coloring or coloring books, lettering, but I feel more comfortable with the brush. Yeah. Because I really like my art to look a bit more organic. Apart from the art I already do digitally, I like to have the work that I do on paper. I like it to be really organic, the line art as well as the painting. Yeah.
And would you ever think about perhaps doing an adult colouring book and just doing the line art and then leaving it for other people to colour, or would that just, because you said you like the colours?
Actually, quite early in my career, I worked on this is actually when I just started out with making digital illustrations as well. I've done some colouring books for customers. If someone would approach me for that, I'll definitely be down to work on a coloring book. It's just not like right now. I don't want to self-publish anything but the tarot deck because it's already so much work. So I'd like to keep that as my pet projects. But who knows? Maybe in the future, if the deck is published, if that's all done, if I need a new pet project, it might be a coloring book. Probably gonna be very whimsical. It's probably gonna have a lot of little fairy things, maybe some zodiac things going on. No, I really enjoy making those kind of drawings. I've done some illustrations for coloring books. Some of them I also colored myself as like an example. I really enjoyed making the coloring pages. It's definitely something I would want to do again, or that I want to do more of. But right now I don't have customers for coloring books, and I prioritize on working for customers or working on my tarot arts. Maybe when the tarot deck is published, maybe I'll pick up making a coloring book as a new pet project. But for now, one side project that I just do for myself is the tarot cards. I really have my focus when I find the time. So, but who knows, maybe in the future I'll make some coloring books. I'd love to make coloring pages in a zodiac theme. That'd be really fun.
Yeah, that would be so good. I think you're going to be inundated with messages on Instagram after this video.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, if someone wants to collaborate with me on that and help with the publication, customers always have priority. So, yeah. But for now, another pet project, it's going to be too busy between the traveling and between the 3 different brands. It's going to be a bit much.
So I have one more question for you before we wrap up. I've said my favourite tarot card is Justice. Have you got a favourite tarot card?
Ooh, Not really, especially when I started. When I started the project, I didn't know anything about tarot. I just knew that it seemed so fun to make 78 illustrations in the same theme with all these like whimsical things, with all the symbolism, with all these different elements. So yeah, when I started, I definitely didn't have very favorite cards. And I think that's actually good because I'd be afraid if I would have a favorite card that I would spend more time on that card than on the other cards. So I want to treat all cards equally, even the cards that are a bit dark and that are a bit not so nice. I always try to bring in something positive in each card.
That might be quite tricky with the devil card because I think that's quite a dark card and you've not done that one yet.
Well, I'm going to work on that soon, since it's one of the last cards I still have to do. There is a lot of positive to the devil, actually. Even to death, there's even the cards that sounds really, really negative and really, really grim. There's a lot of positivity that you can find in those cards. Actually, the Tower is one of the scarier cards. A lot of people think it's the devil and death, but the Tower is one of the scarier ones. That's why I made two versions. So the version that is the diamond painting is actually the waters down version, quite literally. It's the mild version of the cards. I also have a version that literally has the Tower on fire, how it's pictured in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Yeah. Yes, I'm probably also going to publish my deck with the two versions so people can choose, because it's, a lot of people consider it the most negative cards, so I kind of want to give people the option, like, hey, do you want this negative cards to be a burning tower, or do you want it to be kind of this mermaid kind of thing that still looks a bit, it still looks a bit grim, but in more of a mystical way.
Okay.
So I think that I really enjoyed working on the Tower, both versions. So maybe that's my favorite card now.
Oh, okay.
I used a lot of my own imagination in those cards. So maybe that's actually one of my favorites. Maybe I haven't made my favorite one yet because it's still 14 cards to go. So
yeah.
I'm still gonna find a card that I absolutely fall in love with. But no, I really liked working on the Wheel of Fortune as well. It's actually the first card that I made, but then I made a new version. That was pretty fun. But not so much because of the meaning, just because of the elements I got to include.
Right.
So for me, whatever the favorite card is comes from an illustrator perspective, not so much from a tarot reader perspective, because I'm not a tarot reader.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me on the channel. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been fun.
It's been so great hearing about what goes on about the art in the background, to enable us to do our diamond painting. So thank you. I really appreciate it. And like we can say, you can get in touch on Instagram and Facebook with you, and you have a website. So make sure that you go there.
But just go to my social media. The website is a bit falling up behind a bit between all the projects. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and we hope to hear from you again soon with another picture that we can diamond paint.
Yes, it's going to take a while for me to complete the artwork, and then it will take a while for Diamond Art Studio to complete the charting. But yeah, I can't give the date yet, but we're talking about it.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Suzanne. Bye-bye.